Hello, I'm going to look at my second round game from the Reykjavik City Championship 2010, where I was playing the white pieces against E.Bjornsson, and his FIDE rating is 2025. Now, I played this game yesterday, and so this is pretty fresh, but on the other hand I'm not going to be able to probably keep up with this pace. Let's adjust this a little bit. Like this, okay? Because I have I have a game tomorrow and then on Sunday, and yeah, I have to referee a game on Sunday and Saturday, so I don't really have much free time. But okay, we'll try. Maybe the beginning of next week I can try to have a look at the third and fourth round game. So my opponent in this game is obviously much better and more capable than the first round opponent. Known him quite a long time. He used to be my history teacher when I was at the Commercial College of Iceland, and I also played with him on. We used to be in the same chess club. We used to play for the C team when I was younger. Clean up on like the second and third board there, which was pretty fun. So yeah, basically all around a nice guy, always easy to talk to and to have a laugh with. Nothing but good things to say about him. And I would say his rating is 2025, but he doesn't play that much, so I think he's much stronger than his rating, and he would have a higher rating if he devoted more time to chess, but he's just a recreational player, likes to play from time to time. And also for that reason there are not many games with him in the database, so I didn't really have anything to prepare on. I remembered he played some kind of a Dutch, so one or two games where he played d4, e6, and if c4, knight f3, just goes f5. But that allows e4, so I contemplated transposing into the French, where I had played this line, also played this line. So that was what I was thinking about. And then I thought, okay, I'll just play my knight f3 stuff and see what happens. But then before the day I got a phone call from a friend, and we were talking about it, and he thought, yeah, maybe I need to play a little bit sharper when needed against this kind of rating strength. So he suggested that I should play the open Sicilian. We were pretty sure that he played the Sicilian. I thought he played some kind of a Khan or Taimanov setup, so I spent some time preparing that. Don't know if it's really worthwhile to go over what I prepared there. But basically I just had on the bus on the way to the game, and so like 1.5 hours before the game I had a look at some lines with my friend. So I was prepared for the Khan and or Taimanov. However, I did open e4, and he played c5, knight f3, and knight c6. And yeah, sorry for sort of going back and forth between subjects, but I'd just like to point out that the reason why I tend to mix up a little bit my openings: d4, knight f3, c4, sometimes e4. And the reason for that is we have a kind of a closed society. By that I mean there are not that many good players playing in this tournament, so you're playing the same people over and over, and you have to kind of throw them off. Anytime they maybe prepare for a game for like 3 hours, if that, and if you can make them look at something that you're not going to play for like 33% of the time that they're preparing, then obviously that's a benefit to you. So okay, he played knight c6, and again I just thought he was going to play e6 here. He played sort of a counter Taimanov setup. Queen c7 introduces the Taimanov think anytime you play a6, it's a6, it's a con. That's a fine line between. I'm not really a great expert on it anyway. However, in this position he played g6, which of course is the accelerated dragon. And at this point I thought, oh crap, what have I gotten myself into? Because, well, I don't play e4 that much, and I don't basically have a clue what to do here. Never played this with white. Thing is, when I played e4 against knight c6, I've gone bishop b5. I played some sidelines as well, like 2b3, 2c3. So, had I known that he would play g6, I would probably go bishop b5 here. But I didn't know that, so I ended up playing this, or having to play against this to be more accurate. And yeah, the rare times that I have allowed the open Sicilian, nobody played this. So, okay. Basically I couldn't remember any theory here. So I decided to play c4. Couldn't remember that's a thematic move here, but more than that I couldn't remember anything really. So yeah, at this point I had already spotted him like 8 minutes on the clock, and you don't like to do that, although it's not critical, of course. Okay, now I played bishop e3, which is probably an okay move. I think one of the most yeah, it's the most played move in this position, the most popular move. However, after the game, I looked up the book Experts versus the Sicilian, and Peter Heine Nielsen is advocating this line there, and you end up playing knight c3, bishop e2, and bishop d2, and it sort of looks like the line with colors reversed. So bishop e3, nothing wrong with that. Knight f6, knight c3, and yeah, here I had some recollection of knight g4 being a line. It's probably not that critical, but I was just going to take and go queen d1. It's about as much as I knew. And then I remember that knight e6 is some kind of move here. And you know, it's just a position. Just going to play it. It looks rather easy to play. Just queen d2, bishop e2, you castle, rook c1 or something. Shouldn't be that much of a problem, even though your opponent is likely to know more about the position than you. So I was happy when he played castles, getting more like a normal position. Bishop e2, now b6. I was expecting d6. And here, I just decided to retreat the knight c2. I'm kind of mixing up perhaps the lines from the book, where we go knight c2 on the 6th move, right here, like this. Oops, like this. Because then the bishop is usually on d2. So a little bit of a mix-up, and it confused him a little bit. On the other hand, I was not expecting b6, and all I remember is that I think they play like d6, and then they take on d4. Let's look at the opening book. I have that. Yeah, d6, and then castles. Yeah, bishop d7. Taking d4 is also a move. We will do it now. Yeah, it's the most common move here. Yeah, bishop c6 and then knight d7. You have to protect the pawn, and then knight d7, and they want to exchange this this bishop. But probably white isn't supposed to allow that. And e5. Yeah. Probably we've seen tons of games where Curtains was playing with black in this sort of line. And even though I've seen plenty of games, I didn't remember how to play this. You know, I had vague recollection, but nothing too concrete. So I think I would play knight c2 after b6 also, just to avoid him playing theory here. And it's just about keeping the pieces on. It's generally I think you should do, and I like to do against players that I feel like I should win against. And also had some vague recollection of some principles about exchanging pieces in these lines, that white should either exchange none or all of the minor pieces, basically. But okay, that's a pretty general advice anyway. So he continued to develop with bishop b7, castled, and I was kind of expecting him to go like d6, knight d7, and we have like a normal struggle, I presume. Not a position that I played often, and in either case I think it's not so easy to find plans in these positions. You just have to kind of play solid and improve your pieces. And okay, I didn't dislike my chances in that sort of a positional struggle. But okay, he played knight e8, and okay, this is a familiar a maneuver familiar from the English opening with reversed colors. There the knight might go to c7 and e6 to try to battle for control over d4, but here we don't have a pawn on c5, so that's not really relevant. You can't really control d4. So I thought he would actually be going to d6, which looks a bit silly, but that's what he did. And he's getting ready to play f5, but don't do anything. And here I started to look for some moves, and I wasn't quite happy with this possibility of f5. For instance, if we just play f3, which actually I did, then after f5, I can't really allow him to take on e4 because I get an isolated pawn then on the e file, which would be weak, so I would probably have to take. And then this knight maneuver makes sense. Now he's can't allow him to take on e3, so I probably have to go here. And it just looks like black has an easy game here. He can. This might not be called for or useful, but the queen has to go to a silly square, sort of. I have to back it up to d1 or e1, probably e1. And from there, I think black can just play something like this. Queen e7, bring the rook over, and I think black is more than okay here, and it's really difficult to suggest a plan or a way to improve the position for white. So I didn't like that, and I tried to look at moves like this, where I attack d7, but on the other hand he can probably just play like this. And even though I have the bishop pair, it's easy to kind of stop me. It just goes like here or something, and at some time he can just play f6, probably got d6 here and maybe f6 or something. I don't think white has enough for a pawn here. There's some competition, but not enough. I also thought about bishop h6. I saw some cute lines there. If he takes, queen takes. And first I thought, okay, he can win a pawn here, knight e5, which double attacks this pawn and also double attacks this pawn. And I can't defend both. But then I came up with knight e3, protecting c4, and now if he takes on e4, I can play queen f4. I even looked a bit further here. After this, I have this. and if he takes, I can go knight d5. And as I saw during the game, of course, this is attacked, and he can't take because of the mate threat, which he has to give up his queen to not be mated here. Okay, he does have e6 here, but oops, right here he does have e6, but we just go here, and maybe he can't go to g7. Well, maybe he can. Knight h5, then he can go to h6. But either way, I can just win a piece here, check him, and then just take the bishop. So that worked, but on the other hand, if it just goes the other way to a5, where the knight is protected and there's no loose knight on e5, and I don't see how I can save my pawn here. Protect either one, then the other one falls, and even if I go something like this wins a piece because I attack two pieces. He can take on e5, but he can also just play queen c7. And now if I take, just retakes, this is hanging, and if I protect it, then just this. And we got two loose knights here on the c file, which can't be protected. Well, I'm not using a computer program, so maybe this line doesn't work, but I don't want to use a computer for now. I just want to give my impressions of the game. So okay, however, I found after f3, which I did play, that I have this move c5, which is probably the only move I think that makes sense here. He has to take. If he doesn't, well, he takes on e4, he loses a piece, and if he goes knight f7 immediately, which I think must be the best square, blunts this diagonal here. But this controls some good squares, d6, e5, g5, h6. Looks like a much better square than e8 or c8. But then I would take on b6, and we sort of have this weak pawn here. And then I can probably take on f5 as well, and have these open files, and black will have to start worrying about his pawns a little bit. So I think he has to take, which he did. Bishop takes, and now he probably has to retreat the knight. If he takes on e4, I was going to take on d6, and note that he doesn't have any in-between moves here. If he takes here, then I have a check here, and then I'm a piece up, and same thing goes for e3. I have queen d5, and then I get the bishop away. Yeah, oops, sorry. Yeah, so it doesn't have that, and he has to retreat knight f7. That's what he did. Here I decided to take an f5. I felt like he would have some weak pawns. I don't want him taking on e4. I feel like this structure is weaker for him. He has, first of all, 3 pawn islands. These rook pawns could be potentially weak, and of course this opens potential file here to attack the king. And I just felt like the f-pawn would have problems in some lines. For instance, I contemplated a move like queen d5 here, targeting this pawn. And well, I didn't find anything concrete, but you know, there are some potential tactical nuances here, like queen b3 attacking the bishop and the rook. But it does have this though, and I think he survives. I tried to find something here, but I couldn't. He can play d6 or rook e8. Don't think it matters. Let's just play d6. Bishop b4. Yeah, I can probably do that. This probably wins a pawn. He can't go here because of the bishop hanging. And something like this, I take here and win this pawn. I have to take with the bishop. Although maybe it's not completely clear, it does have some counterplay with like rook c8 now. It would have to be this rook because otherwise bishop d7. So maybe not completely clear, but okay, that's kind of a problem I had in mind with the f5 pawn, and that's why I took on f5. And also, in some lines, okay, let's say I go like bishop c4. He plays d6. I hadn't decided where to go, a3 or e3. a3 keeps control over b2 and keeps pressure on d6. Okay, on e3 it's just centralized, keeps an eye on a7 and on this diagonal as well. Let's say I go here. You know, always a possibility like bishop coming to here and then this is attacked. So basically just some general considerations about the weakness of the f5 pawn. Okay, I did think a while here in this position, and I was kind of calculating some stuff. Bishop c4, queen d5, like we looked at. But then this move came to me that I made. I think it's a pretty good move. For the moment, the f3 pawn, it looks okay. I mean, completely shuts this bishop out. I probably don't have to worry about anything happening in like ever on this diagonal. But also, probably my main concern is that instead of these pawns being weak, they could become a strength if he gets to advance them too far. I think the structure kind of reminded me of some English opening. So I played f4, some English opening or close to Sicilian reversed. By that I mean the relationship between the f5 pawn and the f4 pawn. By playing f4, I ensure that anytime he tries to play e5, I can take it, and then this will become a huge weakness. So this little pawn move basically means that I kind of shut him down in the center from making any kind of huge expansion with his pawns. And from here I can try to bring my rooks to the open files and put some pressure on. So yeah, after I made the move, it sort of just came to me. I didn't calculate much. I just felt like it was the right move. Can't really explain why more than what I just did, but I was really happy with this move. And even though I opened this diagonal, it's easy to just play bishop f3 and it's closed, and I don't have any problems there. Also, this clears the third rank, which might be important at some point, like rook f3 to g3 to utilize the weakened g file. So overall, I like this move. He played d6, an understandable move. He's just annoyed with this bishop harassing him, and he wants to know where I want to put it. I decided to put it on e3. Again, keeping an eye on a7, and I felt like it was better there than on a3. Also, I don't have to worry about some random checks like queen b6 or something. And I think control over this diagonal could be important. For instance, if I put the bishop here, let's say he makes a check, and I want to bring this knight here. Immediately, control over this diagonal has been taken over by black. It's maybe not dangerous, but it's not something that I want to happen. I can play knight d5 here, so there are no immediate problems, but no need to give black more play than he should have. So bishop e3, and now he played e6. which is probably okay. Does leave d6 a bit weakened, but the knight on f7 is protecting it pretty well. Here I played rook a to d1, which is probably okay. Adding pressure to d6. A move he thought about here was b4. I hadn't thought about it, but it might be interesting. If there are no tactical problems with something like this, I would have to go here. And of course I'm going to d4, not taking on d6. It's not even a threat because of rook d8. But it does have something like this, where I have to look out, I guess. He can't play knight d4, he takes rook d1. This knight takes b4. Yeah, this is not good for me. So I hadn't thought of this. This is something he suggested in the post-mortem. I think it's a little too wild. And actually said that's the reason why I played a5, to stop this. Yeah, number one, to stop this, and number two, just to get rid of the weakness on a7, which was prohibiting him from moving the rook and then the knight. Okay, here I came up with a move that increases the pressure a little bit against d6. I played bishop h5. And actually, right here might have been the most critical moment in the game. Probably he should have played d5 here. And although it does cripple his structure a little bit, it might leave him pretty weak on the dark squares if we get to exchange here, or something like this. It also doesn't have to change. You can just go like queen d7 or queen e7. I like queen d7 more though. But his basic idea is, let's say go on with my plan here, bishop d4. He wants to put this knight on e4, c4. Most probably e4. And probably I'm still better here, but I think that might have been his best chance to fight a little bit back here. But he played a5 and now bishop h5. And I don't see any way to protect the pawn other than to advance it. That's what he did. And now I saw the opportunity to play knight d6 to e4, so I decided to chop off this knight. And I'm giving up a bishop for a knight, but here I find it's okay because the bishop is really not that useful. It's blunted by this wall of pawns here. And I had the idea to play against this bishop of his here and try to end up with a good knight against a bad bishop, and I played knight e4. So if we have mass exchanges on d4, then obviously he's left with a pretty miserable bishop, and that was my plan. He played queen to f6. And I didn't want to exchange queens, although it's probably good. The thing was that we were both getting a little bit short on time here, so I wanted to keep the queens on to make it a little bit more difficult for him. So I played queen f2, and my plan is to take on c6 and then move the bishop to d4 and exchange the black squared bishop and take over the black squares here in the center. He plays rook c8. I went rook f to e1. I felt it was a useful move. The e6 pawn is going to be a problem for him. The rook is more important on the e file than on the f file, controlling e5 and attacking e6. And also I remove the f1 rook from a potential pin on this diagonal, which enables me to, after I exchange some pieces to play either knight b5 or knight c2 e2, and then come to d4 after some exchanges. So he plays bishop a6, and now I think I have to take on c6, because otherwise he might move this knight to b4 and come into d3, or the bishop might come into d3 and then go to e4 and finally make itself useful. And I don't want that, since I'm trying to make that bishop bad, so I took on c6, and now bishop d4. And again, I think we were both down to like 4 minutes here. Of course you get 30 seconds each move, but when you get down this low, it's getting pretty difficult to play. We played queen g6 and now rook e3. Just hassling him a little bit here on this g file. 1 point of taking on f5 that we talked about earlier. Of course, nothing that I foresaw, but something that you have in mind at the back of your head. I think he has to take, which he did. Now I'm threatening rook g3, so he moved the queen away. And I just decided to stabilize my position with rook e5. And I think it should be clear that white has a pretty big positional advantage. Completely control the black squares. And I can just slowly but surely improve my position. He played rook b7, trying to, I don't know, just put the rook on b4 or put some pressure on the b file. It doesn't really matter. I just played h3, and that's another good feature of my position. I don't have to rush anything. So the point with h3 is just to tuck my king away here before starting anything active. I don't think it hurts my position in any way. I'm not doing anything on the h file. He's probably not going to be able to make anything happen here on g3 or h4. So just get the king to safety. It might not be needed, but you know, there's no damage in doing so, and also we're in time trouble, so it's easier for me to find moves. So I just slowly improve my position. He played rook c4, but something like this I'm not worried about. I can just play here, and probably I'll just play something like this. And now that I don't have to worry about my king, it's pretty difficult for him when I get in moves like knight c5 or if my queen gets into his camp on any of these squares. So I think this is a really difficult position for black. His king is also very weak, and I think it might be close to strategically lost. You played rook c4. It's natural when you have a cramped, a little bit crappy position like this, that you want to exchange pieces. And again, we're pretty short on time here. I took on c4. I felt like it was good because he can't take with the pawn and take on a5, and after bishop takes c4, which I saw. I do have queen c5, which looks pretty awkward to meet. First I wanted to play b3, and I thought he would go bishop a6 here, and now I was playing queen c5, and this looks pretty awkward for him. Don't really know what he can do. I'm threatening, of course, first the a pawn. I might go like queen d6 and then take on d5. Sometimes I might check here when this is weak. You know, if he does nothing, let's just to give you an example. Let's go like this. Just make a no move. I go here, and he has to do this to protect e6. And it seems to me that I might have a tactic like this, because if he takes, I have this, winning the queen. So queen c5 was my next move, but then he played bishop d3, and I saw one tactic, so I just immediately made a move, queen d4. The point is that you can't go to e4 because I just take it. Neat little tactic. Because I defend the queen and his queen is attacked, so he can't both take the rook and defend the queen, so I just win the piece. However, I did miss an easy win here. Queen g3 just wins the piece, which was pretty bad thing to miss, but I just made the move immediately because I saw this this tactic and he had to go to a6, and then I have queen c5. And I was going to make the move immediately, but then I felt like I had some tactics here. Okay, I saw, of course, rook takes d5, the same mode as before. But then I started to think, and I saw knight takes d5, which looks pretty awesome, and that's what I did. He probably should retreat the queen. Well, where? You can go to... Well, if he goes to d8 to pin my knight, I just take on e6. And you can't do this because of this, obviously, so... well, does he have king f7 here? Well, no, actually. I can just do this, for instance. And I win. Even if the knight will be trapped here somehow. I'm up 2 pawns, so it doesn't matter. And the queen can also go to like f7 or something, I don't know. But basically, I just win a pawn, and this is pretty crappy for him. I'm up a pawn. This is hanging, this is weak. My pieces are threatening all kind of nice stuff. So overall, just should be completely winning for white. Although, of course, in this position, sorry, this one, queen c3 was immediately decisive, but I missed it. So, anyway, bishop a6 and out, took a d5, and he was short on time, and he probably missed the little trick that I had here. It doesn't matter where he puts the king, I will check off his queen, and he resigned here at the rook g8. If he goes here, of course, just this. Then I take, so the lesser evil is take the rook without allowing a check, but now this is attacked. And I mean, okay, he can defend this pawn, but that would lose pretty much a piece here, as they are both attacked. Well, actually, he can go here, but I'm just cleaning up his pawns and completely winning. So he simply resigned here in this position. So, a decent victory against a fairly strong opponent, and now in my third round matchup I will play against Hjartarson, not the Grandmaster. He has the same last name. His name is Bjarni Hjartarson, not Johan Hjartarson. And I played him once before, and I have fond memories of that game because I played him in the last round of a round robin. I needed to beat him with white pieces for my first international master norm, and I managed to do that. But this time he has the white pieces, and I'm pretty sure he's out for revenge, so could be interesting. He's like 2160 or something, so he's not in great form. He used to play more back in the days, but shouldn't be a walkover. But on the other hand, if I play my game, should beat him. But anything can happen. Let's not be cocky, but let's be confident. So thanks for watching this game, and hope I can keep up a little bit with these games. But usually I kind of give up after 5 or 6 games. So we'll see what happens. Not promising anything, but I'll give it a shot. So I will see you later. Bye bye.